Howdy, I'm Scott Bell, the author of the Camel Regiment, A History of the Bloody 43rd Mississippi, CSA 1862 to 65. The 43rd Mississippi was the only regiment east of the Mississippi River to use a camel militarily in the Civil War. The camel's name is Old Douglas. This is silhouette, and right here is the memorial plot of the 43rd Mississippi and the memorial gravestone of Old Douglas. Now, I said memorial. Nobody's actually buried here, okay, including Old Douglas. Old Douglas was at the siege of Vicksburg with the 43rd Mississippi, and near the end of the siege, he was shot down by a squad of Federal sharpshooters. Now, Old Douglas was loved by the Army and by the 43rd, of course, and even well known by the Federals. Now, it is said that the starving Vicksburg garrison, that Old Douglas served them as camel chops, okay? But we don't know that for sure, but we can assume it. Now, some say in the 43rd that he was buried, Old Douglas was buried with a full military funeral, okay? Now, afterwards, one of the Union soldiers that came into Vicksburg said that they picked up the bones of Old Douglas and they sold his bones as souvenirs, finger rings and other ornaments to Federal or Union or Yankee tourists that came into Vicksburg. And after the bones ran out for Old Douglas, according to this Union soldier, they used cattle bones that had been slain for beef. Now, the 43rd Mississippi was in the thick of it. They guarded the 3rd Louisiana Redan. They guarded the 3rd Louisiana Redan during the siege, the May 18th to July 4th 47-day siege of Vicksburg. Now, right here, the 43rd lost 25 men. Now, there are 25 VA government headstones that were dedicated for them here. Okay, again, they're not buried here. Now, Old Douglas, right? His grave, although it's shaped like a government stone, is not. It's privately funded. Okay, and it was placed here in memory of Old Douglas. Now, coins, when people visit, they'll place coins on the grave, and that's used to upkeep this part of the cemetery and, of course, his grave, adding things like this silhouette of the camel that has been placed here. There's also other signage and stuff that's going to help people locate Old Douglas and the 43rd plot. It's not at Soldiers Rest here in Vicksburg. That is this way. So this sits out by itself. Now, I'll take the camera over here, and let me tell you, this is an impromptu, my cell phone video while I happen to be here in Vicksburg. So let me show you the back. And this is a quote from one of the soldiers in the 43rd. It says, "To the band, Douglas is to the band." That's who he was dedicated to. Douglas at first frightened all the 43rd's horses, but soon became a favorite of both beast and men. The 43rd was henceforth called the Camel Regiment. Douglas served in the Iuka, Corinth, Central Mississippi Railroad, and Vicksburg campaigns. Intentionally killed by Yankee sharpshooters near the end of the siege, he may have been eaten, that is correct, he may have been eaten by the starving Confederates. Douglas's death was greatly mourned, and as a 43rd vet wrote about him, his service merits record. Let me say this about the 43rd, okay? I wrote the book along with the research and help of my good friend Jim Huffman about the 43rd, but let me tell you, there was a time when there was nothing about Old Douglas. Maybe an obscure mention in a history book or two, and that was it. When Jim and I wrote the book, Old Douglas, we wanted to get a monument to the camel on the battlefield. That didn't happen, but this memorial plot was acquired for this, so we're very happy about this. And this is one of the most, let's go up to the front again. Now remember, this is an impromptu video, okay? This spot right here has become one of the most photographed and popular visitor stops in Vicksburg. While Old Douglas, he went from not being known, right? And I I don't want, I hate to toot our own horn, but largely through our work, he's recognized on the internet, newspapers, magazines, you name it. Everybody loves Old Douglas the Camel. Now, I got the story, the real story of Old Douglas is in the book, A History of the Bloody 43rd Mississippi. I have a Facebook page, 43rd Mississippi. You can order the book through me. I'll send you a signed copy, or it is available on by other online retailers. And a couple other points about Old Douglas, because there's a lot out there that's just not the case. Old Douglas was not a member of the U.S. Camel Corps. That was started in 1857 by none other than Jefferson Davis while he was U.S. Secretary of War. The U.S. Camel Corps is out of Texas, near San Antonio. It was used as the camels were used, they were brought in from the Middle East. They were used as pack animals in the arid deserts by the U.S. Army and the mountain peaks of the West. But Old Douglas was not there. At the same time this is going on, the South's going through a camel craze, and camels are being imported into Mobile, Alabama to be used by planters to see if they could be domesticated for agricultural work. Well, when the war broke out, the war between the states, Hargrove, who was mentioned earlier, Lieutenant Hargrove, owned Old Douglas. He brought the camel with him when he joined the regiment. And that's how Old Douglas was introduced into the Confederate Army. So that's one of the things that we have tried that's out there that's just not the case. Other than that, I appreciate you listening, and God bless.